Hey there, this is a continuation video of my review of Orchestral Tools Berlin main series, and today I want to showcase the SINE-Player but also walk you through the different sections. Before we dive into the different sections of the SINE-Player and the main series itself, I want to briefly mention that I'm usually quite annoyed when developers and publishers force you to use their own software, as one of the main benefits of Kontakt is that you can gather all your libraries and instruments in one place, or most of them anyway. But with that being said, as I started working with the SINE-Player, I'm now at the point where I wish I could gather all my libraries and instruments in the SINE-Player instead of Kontakt. And today I want to show you why I started to like the SINE-Player so much. So we're gonna go through the different sections, and I'm gonna talk a bit about the really positive things I've experienced using it. So let's start with the license page and the store that is included in the SINE-Player. I already mentioned that I'm usually quite annoyed that you have to go through so many steps until you can use the instruments you purchased, as you have to buy them usually, download some form of assistant, download the instruments, figure out the licensing, and then transfer everything into Kontakt until you can use them. And with the SINE-Player, Orchestral Tools actually took that whole process and made it as simplistic and easy as possible. And in that goal, they succeeded big time, I think. Once you registered an instrument or library to your user account, the licenses will show up in this space. And if you go to the details of one of those, in my case Berlin Woodwinds, you'll see you not only have the option to download and install different instruments, but also choose between the different mic positions. And that's a fantastic feature, as every mic position resembles a whole set of samples you'd have to download and install. And if you leave out the mic positions you don't use anyway, you'll save a lot of hard drive space. But if you realize at any point in your composing process that you're missing one of these mic positions you haven't installed, that's not a problem at all, as you can just install it at any point whatsoever and use it right away. What I really like about this flexibility though is that they brought the same concept to their store. I can go to any library I might be interested in and also have the option to purchase not only the whole bundle but also single instruments. And I think every orchestral composer was at one point looking for a specific instrument, and the only option to get those were by purchasing a whole bundle or library. So to have the option to stock up on single instruments you are actually missing is amazing. Okay, let's talk about the main series now. And I went to the library tab on the SINE-Player, and all my licensed instruments I downloaded and installed are available to play here. I can go into settings to see where they are located, or I can click on browse and actually have a list of all the instruments that are available to me. I thought about making a video showcasing the different sounds and colors of the instruments that are provided, especially in the same instrument groups, but Orchestral Tools already beat me to it. I'll put a link with the product page of the main series into the description, and if you click on details there, you'll have sound examples for every instrument in the whole series, which is especially nice since you can purchase single instruments as well. So if you like the sound of one particular horn, for example, you can just buy that solo horn instead of having to buy the whole Berlin brass section. In addition to the individual sound examples, you'll also have an articulation list on the same page. And this level of transparency is, I think, extraordinary, as you'll exactly know what you'll get for your money. But for now, I'll just focus on the functionality of the SINE-Player with the Berlin main series. And if you're interested in sound examples, you can either listen to my demo track I uploaded, or go through the Orchestral Tools page with the link in the description. If you want to play something with the SINE-Player, you just go through your installed instruments and can choose between single articulations or the whole instrument. So I can choose different articulations to load in, or I can just double click on the instrument and it'll load every available articulation. And once the blue bar is gone, you're good to play. Another feature I really enjoy in this sampler is how easy it is to configure key switches. I always pressed my key switches by accident, and because of it I got used to a combination of expression maps and getting my key switches off my hardware keyboard. Although it is possible in most cases to configure your key switches in Kontakt instances as well, it is not nearly as intuitive and simple as it is in SINE, as I can just grab my key switches and move them around to a position where I want them. Another important function of Kontakt is that you can go into the back end and decide which samples are played and influence the sound of them to a certain degree as well. I moved my camera a bit so you could see how Orchestral tools handled that with the SINE-Player, as there aren't as many options as in the back end of Kontakt, but the main features are still present. You can choose your round robins or exclude round robins you're not happy with or include them again. And you also have the ability to change the settings for dynamics, envelope and legato. I mentioned in my last video that there currently is no purge function in the SINE-Player, which is kind of a bummer considering that the libraries are really CPU intensive. What is available though is the merge function in the mixer. Every time you activate a new microphone position, you basically have to load your whole sample pool into your memory again, and this can push the limits of your computer rather fast. What the merge function does now is that it takes all activated microphone positions and creates one sample set out of this mix. So you only have to store one sample pool in your memory instead of multiple. If, for example, I want to have a combination of the tree mic and some spot mic mixed in, I can just click on merge, enter a name I want to have, and merge them collectively into one set of samples. Once all the calculations are finished, you can see I only have one active mic position left, and the sound is exactly the same as before, but I cut my memory usage in half by only having one sample pool in my memory instead of two. When I try to summarize my thoughts about the comparison between the SINE-Player and the Kontakt player, it almost felt a bit like I'd compare Apple and Windows products. One isn't necessarily better or worse than the other, but they appeal in different ways. When I got my first iPhone back then, I was really caught off guard how well the hardware and software work together to give you the best user experience. And working with the SINE-Player felt kind of similar, as the VSTs and the sampler itself were so built onto each other that it went really smoothly and didn't lag anything. Then again, the Kontakt player is still one of the most used samplers today, and especially for smaller companies who can't afford to build their own, the go-to option for sample libraries. For a good reason as well, as it works really reliable and is the industry standard for some time now. With that being said, as a long-time Kontakt user, I think the SINE-Player is really innovative and fantastically executed, and I hope I can use it more in the future. I also hope you found this video interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.